Okay, hello and welcome to the concluding session in MSDynamicsWorld.com's Spring BI and Reporting webcast series. I'm Jason Gumpert, and I'm really happy to welcome you to today's event. We have BI experts from our 4 webcast series sponsors on the line with us today for the event, and they are each going to spend about 12 minutes sharing the latest and greatest on their companies and their solutions. We've had some really great sessions in this series this spring and have had some great feedback. I would invite you to check out some of the past sessions on demand on our site. You can look for them in the events section if you get a chance. But without further delay, let's get on to today's session and get it started. So the order of today's presenters will be first Noah Kluge of Precision Point, followed by Frank Bunker of Silvon, Nils Rasmussen of Solver, and John Esch of Jet Reports. We will be taking questions at the end, so feel free to utilize the chat and the Q&A blocks that you see on the right of the screen, and we will get to as many questions at the end as we can. But before that, let's get started with the presentations, and let me begin by introducing our first presenter, Noah Kluge of Precision Point. Noah, are you there?
Yes, I am. Okay, great morning, Jason. So I see that I'm now a presenter. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Jason. As Jason mentioned, my name is Noah Kluge. I'm the let's see, I got it. Okay, there it goes. You should be able to see my screen okay here. So my name is Noah Kluge with Precision Point Software. We have a reporting and analytics solution that's built specifically for NAV and AX, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. Based on previous experiences with this type of shootout format, what I've come to realize is that by the end of it, it's really hard to know how the products are different. So what I wanted to do is just really kind of boil it down to 2 main points that I wanted you to take away about Precision Point. The first is it's about our data model, and I'll go into greater detail about that. The second point is that it's about the approach that we handle our implementations and our customers. So we provide BI as a managed service where we will handle the installation, the validation, and the ongoing maintenance of the system on behalf of your busy IT team. So to get started here, let's talk about some kind of reasonable objectives that oftentimes people have when they start to look at a BI solution. One is they want to streamline the month-end close. They want to eliminate islands of information that may be extremely manual to build. They want to be able to get the operational teams and the financial teams onto the same page when it comes to reporting. And they want the system to have flexibility to be able to provide unrestricted analysis. So these are common objectives that people have in mind. And really underpinning that and to meet those objectives, I believe that the proper data model is key. To explain why it matters, for those of you who have Dynamics ERP systems, which I assume is probably most everyone, you're familiar with these concepts of a sales ledger, a purchase ledger, an item ledger. But each one of these is going to have a collection of many complicated tables behind the scenes. And when you need to answer operational questions, when you need to know what's your inventory level or what are the who bought what and what did they buy, you need to go down to the subledger tables. And then what you're doing is you're focusing on a piece of the overall ERP pie. But then when it comes to finance, they're going to report out of the general ledger, which summarizes information from those subledgers, but will also have some of its own unique content in the form of journal entries. So immediately you can start to see how you get different answers within the ERP system. Even though it's the same system, you have different sources that can provide different answers. So to quickly explain that, here's an example of a high-level income statement for a company. So if the CEO went out to ask Mary, the controller, what sales were, she's going to say $2,148,646 because that's the total of all GL transactions for that period within their ERP system. But then if the CEO goes out to Joe, the sales director, and says, well, who's buying what, he's going to have to go down to that little silo of data, that subledger, and he's going to see a different number. But he has to go there because that's where the detail exists that he needs to answer that question. So an integrated BI data model is going to be totally different than that. you're still going to have the detail that exists in those subledgers, but rather than viewing the GL as yet another source of information, the GL becomes really the unifying force that gives you that point of navigation that helps you to get down to the information that you need. But it's always consistent and consolidated and reconciled to the ledger. So to explain that, here is that same type of view where you can see the total for the sales of $2,148,646, but you can see the subledger details. So you can see the customer transactions with the item information. You can see the direct GL postings that the accounting team has added. And in this case, in this last case, you can see vendor transactions, which are coming through the purchase ledger, but they're posted in the sales accounts. And so you can see all this information being brought together into one single view behind the scenes. So to talk about kind of how this is happening, what we're doing is we're integrating the detail at the data warehouse level, which is a fancy term for just a SQL database. All of our logic is just within SQL Server, and so you don't have to buy any additional proprietary software to run it. But you can see here a total of 241,950, which is the sum of these GL transactions. And what Precision Point does is we prepare the details. So we take this particular line item and we break it apart into the subledger detail. So now you can see the specific line items that were on that invoice that posted to that GL account. You can see the dollar amount, you can see the gross profit, and you can also see the quantities on each line item. So all that information is brought together, but still reconciled to the GL to provide customer information, vendor information, and project information. I'm talking about this mostly in the context of sales, but we support other capabilities as well, whether it's OpEx, comparisons by department to budget, sales order, purchase order, and other capabilities on the screen that you see now. So let me just quickly flip over to a demonstration here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect a pivot table to our standard financials module. And what you'll see now is that we've got the GL with all the subledger transactions feeding into it. And I brought on the amount, I brought on the GL account just to get started. You'll see different dimensions that are available. Many of these are from the subledgers. Some of these are global or shortcut dimensions that you may have set up. But just to quickly show how you can create a P&L, train it over time, I'm opening up the GL account structure, which we read in from Dynamics. And you can see revenue, cost of goods sold. For November, you can see the exact same amount that we saw in the presentation, that $2,148,646 figure. So if I wanted to analyze this by some lower level information, I can do that. Maybe I want to do it by item because item profitability is important to me. So I can see the total that's posted to the sales account. I can see what's product revenue, what's non-product related. But then I can open this up to see the specific items that have been sold. So I can see the car audio, and then I can see that we sold $3,800 worth of car audio. It cost $2,500 and generated $1,200 in gross profit. Within this environment, I can still get down to the details. So you can still see the vouchers, the subledger detail, the line item dollar amounts, the unit counts off the line items, and then the GL accounts, each one posted into with customer information and item information. So it's just a quick example of how the detail is available, but then you also can analyze this in a very flexible format, even just with a simple pivot table such as this. So we're talking about this primarily from a concept of sales, but we can also look at operating expenses, for instance. And you can see we have operating expenses broken down, same concept of integration, and I can drill down on these to see the details behind the scenes, the vendor associated with it, and then the items when that concept applies. And just quickly to show some other ways to get to the data, here's an example of an income statement that's been written with an Excel add-in that we'll provide that can be a replacement for like a FRX or a management reporter type situation. And in this example, though, it's always the data. So whether it's in Excel, whether it's in a dashboard, getting the data prepared right enables a lot of those types of capabilities. So for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and flip back to the presentation here. So why is it important to do this? Well, you need to get the finance teams and the operational teams onto the same source. You need to eliminate the time that's been taken in the organizations to reconcile and validate data, and instead get it into the system itself as just a part of its design. And then once you have this integrated view across the GL with all the subledger transactions, the same system can generate reconciled reports, whether it's for finance or for the operational teams within the company. And all of this is because of, again, that integrated data model behind the scenes. So, and that's really what underpins it and makes generating reports extremely simple. So here, what happens if you don't have a business-wide view? Well, finance will continue to have their official source of record that sits in some one-off system. It'll create doubts around the numbers that are generated by a BI solution. And if you have doubts around the quality of the information generated by the BI solution, it may very well impact the adoption of the system overall. But again, you'll continue to have reconciliations, trying to understand what's right and what's not right if you don't have that business-wide view of data. So again, first point was the integrated data model. The second point I wanted to bring up was this concept of that on-premise managed service, which is really key for especially companies that just have a totally stretched IT department. We'll handle the installation, the validation of our product. We'll get in place approximately 50 tailored templates as we work through the implementation with your team. But then after that, we'll monitor it on a nightly basis to ensure it's always accurate and refresh. If there's ever an issue, we'll log on with your permission and resolve those issues. And if you do need our help, we're subject matter experts. So there's plenty of people that are Dynamics experts and plenty that are BI, but we offer the combination of the two within our services team. And so just to kind of reiterate how things fit in, this is the back end that we were talking about. But once you get that data right, then that's when you can serve up the information in dashboards and Excel and distribute it out to end users through tablets and other distribution devices. So for more information, you're welcome to contact info@precision-point.com. You can email me, noah.kluge@precision-point.com. And hey, you can even pick up the phone and call me at the number on the screen now. And if you'd prefer to look at some webinars that we have for a little bit more information, again, because this is the 12-second or the 12-minute version, you're welcome to go to precision-point.com to view webinars that we have recorded and have posted on our website. So again, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Noah.
Yep.
And next to present will be Frank Bunker from Silvon. And Frank, I'm going to give you control now.
Okay, I need the screen when you get a chance. Thank you.
It is on its way. One more try here. Okay, now it's on its way.
Okay, I think I got it. Great. First of all, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to listen to what we have to say on BI and reporting with Microsoft Dynamics. Here at Silvon, I want to take a chance to let you guys get a quick look at our product Stratum and talk a little bit about how we work and some of the components that we have. As far as what we do here at Silvon, we focus exclusively on manufacturers and distributors. So we provide a solution for BI and reporting that's specific to people in those particular sections of industry. We've been doing it for a long time, over 25 years. We've got over 1,800 customers. And all of our customers are people like you guys that run our ERP systems like Microsoft Dynamics, as well as a number of other systems out there. And I think it's important that you're able to collect information not only from the Dynamics ERP systems, but other systems where you may collect data that is important to see in context with the data that comes out of your Dynamics solution. As far as Stratum goes, and Stratum is our product name, is a series of different applications that define a business model, that provide you a roadmap and a way to collect information from around your organization up and down your supply chain. Most people start with sales, but certainly I think it's important to gather information and see all of that information in context with one another. As already has been mentioned, the finance information, but also information from the production and inventory side, the purchasing side. But that ability and that repository exists to help you collect information. That repository is extensible. You're not locked into our business model, but it provides a great way and a roadmap to get started, get off the ground. And as part of that also is a series of predefined views of information that allow users to look at the information you've captured, analyze it, distribute it, and in fact use it for planning as well. So, but once you've gathered all that information, of course, we need to deliver it somehow, and that's a strategy we've had in place here at Silvon for a long time. We call that flexible information delivery, and that's the idea that we've got a single version of the truth. Now we want to provide access to that many different ways based on users' roles. Web-based analysis is the #1 way that people get to it, but reporting, whether it's Excel, using Outlook to distribute things, the ability to have very flexible time. We're great with time and being able to control time by column, setting up rolling months, that kind of thing. Lists is another very popular option with our customer base. The idea that I can create a list of key customers or a list of key products, maybe my new product introductions, and focus my analysis on that specific list of things. So I can almost build my own idea of my own dimensions. Once I've done that, I probably need to get things into I want to go to the next stage and provide what we call performance visibility, the idea of scorecards and dashboards, being able to bring up multiple views of information as I go to a website and let a series of users see a consistent targeted view of information or a series of views of information all in one spot, and leveraging a lot of the technologies you already have in place like SharePoint. Also, mobile is a key part of what we do today. iPads, in fact, I'm doing this presentation on a Surface tablet, and that's where I'll do my demo. Also, integration with Microsoft tools, Excel, Outlook. I mentioned SharePoint already. I think reporting services would be another key place where you can grab information. We have a very open database. The ability to grab information out of there is very simple. The other thing that we think is key from a flexible information delivery standpoint is the idea of proactive alerts. This is the idea of establishing business rules, allowing users to set those rules, and then distributing information as the thresholds in those rules have been exceeded. So let the system do the work, do it in a proactive nature, scheduled to run every day, every month, every week, whatever it may be. So different ways that we can deliver information out to customers. Another key part is using that same analytical interface is the idea that you can interact and collaborate with the data. So the idea, given the right authorities, that a user can go in, create a plan, adjust a plan, maybe sitting at a customer site over the web, make changes to how much business we think we're going to do with this customer, and write that back to the repository, have it rolled up so you can do sales to plan comparisons. People are aware of what's going on and what we believe is going to happen based on that intelligence we're gathering out in the field. But that's all part of the Stratum solution as well, that ability to interact and collaborate with the data. So with that, I thought I'd give you guys a quick tour of Stratum and let you take a look at some of the things that we have. Here's a view of Stratum. I've gone in, my home page actually shows me this year versus last year, both sales and margin, as well as versus a plan. I've got a number of views of information. You can see a lot of the different views that we have here that go through to different areas. I'm going to focus today on a couple of my favorites. I'm going to go in and run a customer review here. In this case, if I was out in the field and I knew a customer number, I could enter that. I could search for a customer by selection, or in fact, I could use that list processing that I talked about. And here I'll go in. I've got a list of my own customers. I've grouped them together some different ways. Here's some customers that fall under the Good Food banner. I want to do some analysis specifically on that group of customers. I'll say OK, and that'll bring up a review. And what I can see in this review is that I'm able to see information about each of the customers going across the top. I've got product brands going down the side, and then I've got actual sales, as well as open orders, information about product mix, how I'm doing in fill rate, that kind of thing across the top. I can easily say, hey, I want to see this for all of these customers. Instead of breaking out by customer, I can just drag this up to here, and that actually then consolidates those customers I have in my list to a single view so I can analyze all of those customers. Additionally, if I want to change the time, that's a very simple thing to do in Stratum. I just open up this column. I can see down at the bottom I'm looking at months. This could be months. This could be days, weeks, whatever you choose. In this case, I'm looking at months. I'm looking at the current year, current month. Maybe I want to go back a couple of months so I can get a rolling 3 months. So I'll go back 2 months through the current month for a total of 3. I can just click OK. So that allows me a very simple way to adjust the time and see different lengths of time. Another thing that I talked about was the idea of scorecarding. I think it's important as people build scorecards. Obviously, the content of a scorecard here, I'm looking at sales. I've got information from the CRM system as well. But I think it's also important as I'm moving across the scorecard here, I've got margin information, I've got sales information, and I've got DSO or AR information here. I need to be able to look at the detail behind those metrics. So as I move across this top customer, I'll go over here. The DSO, the daily sales outstanding, is not where I want it to be for this customer. I can click on that cell, and that'll explode into a new view that shows me detail about that cell. So I'm able to link views together in Stratum, the idea that I can get into detail about a scorecard, etc. One last thing I wanted to show in here, just give you kind of going through our flexible information delivery, is the idea of sales planning. And here's the idea. I'm going to go ahead. I'm working the eastern region here. I'm going to go out, select the east. And this is going to bring up a view of information that shows me a 3-month planning horizon that allows me to look at last month's sales, lets me look at a baseline plan that I have in place, any open orders I have. Marketing has their plan, and you can see by virtue of this arrow, this is right back capable. I'll come down here, and if I want to make a change to this plan, I'll just I'll change these guys to 35,000. I'm going to knock the plan down a little bit here. I can go ahead and update that. That'll actually write directly back to our repository. So as this is writing back, it's not only writing back for what we have displayed right here, but as I drill in on this, you'll see as I go down to the item level, that actually applied that change, that 35 grand, across all of the items here. You can see it down at the bottom. My 35 grand is applied down here. So I could change that here too as well. I could change that 32,000, and you'll see that redistributes the amount across all of the items there. So a lot of different ways you can interact with the data, both from an analytical standpoint, from a scorecarding standpoint, a planning standpoint. I'd also like to be able to put stuff into a dashboard. And here I have a dashboard where I've got multiple views of information, both graphical and grid. It's easy for a user to interact with one of these things. I've got a drop down here. I'll go ahead and just select another customer. It'll repaint that dashboard specifically for that customer so that it updates the data specific to the customers that I choose in this drop down. So what you can see there is 3 or 4 different ways that a user can interact with data. We're collecting data from across the enterprise from a lot of different areas, not just sales, but CRM, purchasing, manufacturing, finance, are all different things that we can do with Stratum out of your Dynamics solution, as well as historical information that may or may not come from Dynamics, and as well as other systems you may have in place that capture information that you want to see in context with information from your ERP. If you'd like to learn more about Stratum and how Silvon and Stratum can work with you to help you better analyze and manage your business, please feel free to contact us. The best way is probably through our website at silvon.com, silvon.com. Certainly feel free to give us a shout, take a look at what we have out there, and then contact us. Let us know how we can work with you to help and provide the service that you need to get to the information you need to run your business more effectively. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the show.
All right. Thank you, Frank. And next we have Nils Rasmussen from Solver, who I am now going to make the presenter. And I'm going to make sure he's audible as well. Nils, are you there?
All right. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Give it one more try sharing. All right, now it's coming up.
All right, great.
All right. Yep.
So hello everyone, my name is Nils Rasmussen from Solver, and I'll start by telling you a little bit about us, and then we'll show you BI360. Solver has been in business for 16.5 years, and we launched this product you'll see today 3.5 years ago. That's caused considerable growth in our company, and we sell this to our partners worldwide. Currently that's in more than 15 countries, and we have offices around the world. We have been certified by a company called TEC, and they've certified a number of companies you probably heard about, like Hyperion and ClickView and many of the Tier 1 BI solutions out there. And the last couple of years, we also won a number of awards for the product. So why do companies choose BI360? I think the main reasons are that we both are a complete Excel add-in, and we are web-based. In other words, for example, your accounting users can build reports and manage the system through Excel when it comes to the reporting and budget process, but your end users might choose to go home or be at a different office and run the reports through the web. So you can basically choose how you access the reports. And that gives you the best of both worlds, I think. Also, we have extensive live integrations, that means real time, without moving the data to a data warehouse or a cube, into the general ledger and the sub-ledger to all of the 5 main Dynamics products, GP, SL, NAV, AX, as well as Microsoft CRM. We also have a SQL Server data warehouse that is optional, so usually the larger customers will go with that, especially if they need currency conversion, consolidations, or if they want to integrate to additional data sources beyond their Dynamics ERP system. Also, a unique thing with BI360 compared to most of the solutions out there is that we are a complete BI suite. So not only do you have the GL and sub-ledger reporting and consolidations, but it's also a full-blown budgeting and forecasting solution. It's a dashboard tool. It has a data warehouse, and we also have a collaboration module that allows you to communicate with your other coworkers around your reports, your variances, and so on. And that means that BI360 can satisfy the needs of a number of different constituents within the company, as you see on this list. So in summary, there are 5 modules in the product, and each one can be used by themselves. So for example, if you're only looking for an FRX or management reporter type replacement for your financial reporting, you might only start with the reporting module, but then you have the option later to expand into budgeting and the other areas. So our general architecture slide looks like this, and it gives you an idea of how you can sit and do live reporting or live dashboarding directly on GL and sub-ledgers within your Dynamics ERP, but you can also work through our SQL Server data warehouse for the reasons I mentioned earlier, consolidations, you have lots of companies, you're going to do budgeting or forecasting, and so on. So next, let's take a look at the product. So if you didn't have your morning coffee yet, you probably want to have a cup now because I'm going to move pretty fast there. So I'm going to focus only on the reporting and give you a glimpse of budgeting today. That's as much as we'll have time for. So what you see here is our reporting add-in. You can see it right here on top. And I'm now in Excel, which is where you'll design all your reports. This is not the pivot table. Of course, you can do pivot tables if you want to on our database, but it's a full-blown report writer where you have complete formatting control. So the first thing I'm going to do is pretend that I'm an end user, and I'm going to show you that I have multiple tree structures up here, actually 3 different ones. So I'm going to run this report for a single part of my organization. So I'm going to pick the corporate US and say run. And you can see I have a month and a budget version chosen as well. So I queried my database, and it came up with the report on the screen. As you can see, it's a fully formatted P&L report. When I look at this, I can also expand up my year-to-date column. As you see, I ran it for period 3, so you got January, February, March there behind the year-to-date column. And print, distribute, do whatever I want with it. Now next I'm going to do a roll-up. So using the tree here on the left, I'm going to re-execute this report. And I've set it up in a unique way. If you look at the bottom of Excel right now, you can see that used to be just one tab where my report definition was sitting. And now that ran on my tree, and it brought up the two companies or departments underneath the node in my tree that I ran for. In this case, it's the Western Hemisphere division. So we got 3 different tabs there, and here we got the consolidated. And of course, on the consolidated, as anywhere in our report, you can right-click and then drill down into detail. Okay? And you can also do that by drilling all the way through to the subledger, which will be completely reconciled to the GL because we follow the document ID or voucher number that links your subledgers to your GL. So that's a quick glimpse of that. Now let's build the report together. So if you're going to do that, let's do this. And one of the important things when you get a new report writer is that you have a system that you can teach our end users. So how do you build a report? Let's do a quick, simple report like a trial balance like this. First of all, you can use your Excel skills because, as we mentioned earlier, we're a true Excel add-in. We're not a pivot table. So that means you got full control over every cell within your report. Now we can move over to the left where we can see, depending on the system I'm sitting on, we can see all of the modules in that system. In this case, I go into the GL. I'm going to drag in account. And I'm going to go and select my accounts. Because we're doing a trial balance, it's going to be pretty simple because we'll do the whole range of accounts there, like this. And then we can go and get our account description, like this. And then we can come and get our amounts. Just drag in the amount field like that and copy that over. And now we can choose on our columns what we want there. And we predefine all kinds of period functions, so it's really easy. You simply drag in, for example, year to date, last year, year to date. And then when it comes to a calculation, let's say a variance calculation, because we are a true Excel add-in, it's simply Excel that you're using for that, nothing new that you have to learn. And these headers were just suggested by the system, so you can type over them if you want to, of course. And then we can go and run that report, choose a period. Notice how it created the prompt on the left. Same place you would add more filters like company, department, and so on. So now you already have a quick and dirty report, and you see the little building blocks of where you would create reports like the first one I showed you, a fully formatted P&L, balance sheet, and so on. And you can do so with very, very dynamic ranges and filters within Excel. With that said, let's close out of here. And let me show you very quickly ad hoc reporting, because our tool is also excellent for your accountants and key finance people to just do quick queries on the ERP. In this case, I picked the Dynamics GP ERP system. It will be exactly the same for all the other dynamic systems. You'll see all your modules there on the left. An additional thing you can see, if you have custom tables or fields, you can add those. In this case, we've added all of the views from SmartList, so I can come in here and access those. And a lot of GP customers love those views. So in this case, I'm going to build a quick query on payables. So I'm going to drag up vendor here, and I'm going to drag up period, so I can make filters out of them. And I also want to see vendors on my screen, and go into vendor and pick an attribute. When you work out of cubes and data warehouses, you often miss the thousands of attributes that exist on all your tables in the ERP, versus here you can see within our live integration, you got everything available. And it's in plain English because we have spent a lot of time putting a layer on top of your SQL tables so that you don't have to know anything about tables as you're building reports, even though you're doing that live, in this case, on your ERP. So now I'm making a filter and selecting a few vendors. I'll pick the periods that I want to look at. And then we can run that. So now you have a live query from your accounts payable module. I could say group by vendor, and I can say I want to subtotal that. I can shoot this out to Excel. I can email it. I can save the view and use it again later. But there's pretty much no other tool that we have seen at least that makes it this quick and easy to do something that's not the formatted report like you saw earlier, but that's just a quick query to get answers to your business questions without refreshing cubes or data warehouses. It's real time. So with that said, we have 1 minute and 45 seconds left, so that allows us time to show you the third thing, which is budgeting. So quick glimpse into that. We have two add-ins here to Excel, as you can see, reporting and planning. So when I come into planning, you can see a whole bunch of examples that I have sitting here, different types of forecast models, budget models, and so on. So I'm just going to show you one single template, and that's right here. So I'm opening that up just like with the report writer, except now you're going to be inside of templates that are actually for data entry. And you can see all of the yellow cells there are actually input cells that I've set up. And I picked department 200, if you saw that on the left, and a budget version. And that's how this ran. So this is now for one department. And we can go ahead and do our budgeting like this. I have actual last year's out here on the right with forecasts for the rest of the year. I have totals, and I also have detail coming in from other templates that I don't have time to show you, like payroll, CapEx, and so on, giving me a complete departmental budget. And finally, if I come back here, delete out one row, there's also special features. So for office supplies, as an example, I can come here and I can say copy last year, which you saw right above for that account, increase that by a certain %, put in a comment, so we can have text everywhere. And I can drive that back to Excel. And close that window, and now we generated office supplies based on last year. And you can also do line item detail and so on there. So in summary, we have all of these templates you can create or use our templates for budgeting, payroll, CapEx, and so on. And you have that as a key module within BI 360. And my very last statement to you is if you want to learn more about our product, you can go to our website, www.solverusa.com. We also have books around the product. We have videos and, of course, implementation and training assistance so that you, the customer, can learn how to write reports and how to maintain and build the system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Niels. And now we have John Esch from Jet Reports. And John, I'm going to transfer control to you now. John, are you there?
Jason, can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Okay. So I am not seeing a share screen. Let me try and do something different here. And
if you're not seeing, I can.
No, I can see it. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So, hi everybody. My name is John Esch. I'm with Jet Reports, and Jet Reports is a company that has focused on dynamics. Been around for about 12 years. We have a financial reporting and business intelligence solution for NAV, GP, AX, and CRM. And so I'm the last guy in this demo shootout, and I figured that after seeing all those great demos, and they were great, I figured everybody was kind of software demoed out, right? So I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to talk about business intelligence and reporting strategy instead of thrilling you with another software demo. So what I've done is I've taken some interesting points from a few of the presentations that I've done this year, and I've put them together. And my hope is that I will leave you with some useful advice on BI and reporting, right, as much as I can do in the 12 minutes that I have. So here's what I'm going to talk about, what BI users really want. The Technology Evaluation Center, one of my colleagues, I think, mentioned that group, the good group that does BI strategy. They did a big survey of BI users, and I'm going to talk about some of their results. And then I'm going to talk about something that doesn't get brought up very often, which is we're always talking about business intelligence with ERP and why do they go together? Are they supposed to go together? And if we have time, I'm going to do a little bit of a demo just so you can see what Jet Reports looks like, but I don't think we're going to have time for that. And then stay tuned till the end because I have this kind of a special offer for the summer reading program, and I'll tell you what that's all about in a second. So this is from the Technology Evaluation Centers. They did a big survey last year, and thousands of respondents to this. And one of the slides that kind of caught my eye, one of the pieces that caught my eye was that there is a list of the top 20 pieces of functionality that the users of business intelligence really want. And I have to give credit to Jorge Garcia at Tech, because he did all the hard work of this survey, and I just kind of get to talk about it. But what that jumped out at me here is that inside of the top 20 features of BI are performance management and analytics. And I kind of expected to see those two things in the top 20, but it's the order of them that surprised me, because you see that BPM is way above analytics. And that is kind of weird, I think, because BI is really synonymous with analytics. I expected to see it first. It's not the case, though. If we dig a little deeper into their research and we think about the reasons why people might want BPM first, it's really because they want to improve strategy and tactics. And so if we dig a little deeper into that and think about what performance management really means, it isn't necessarily about making better individual decisions, although that's certainly a part of it. It's about a process for making decisions in general, a better process for making decisions in general. And when you think about that, that's really a far-reaching strategic goal. So strategy, right? Then we come to analytics. And the reason why analytics are important is because tactics flow out of analytics. And I always like to get people to think about the meetings that are taking place in their organization. So who's meeting with whom and what questions are being asked. And so the story there is, think about a VP of sales who's meeting with the person that owns the product. They both want to see what items were sold in the last year. And so they use their BI system to quickly pull up the item sales for prior year, and they see that they have this big spike in Q2. And so they can drill down into that detail, and they can see what items drove that spike. And sure enough, there are 5 or 6 items that sold really well. All the salespeople are having success with them. We've got great gross profit on it. But there's also these few items that aren't selling well. And because their BI system does this, they can jump out to the inventory cube or the inventory module, and they can see that there's a lot of these items in inventory, and they've got a ton of inventory days on it, and the days in stage is huge, and they're costing us a lot of money. And then, boom, now they know what to do, because they can say, okay, we're going to call the marketing department. We're going to say, we have some items that are costing us money. We need to run a campaign on those items. We need to sell them. We need to blow them out of inventory. And we need to focus on the things that are really making us money. And so that is about using analytics to make decisions, right? Tactics are created out of that. And I'll tell you, that story happens all the time with our clients. And it's really about using the data to drive better efficiency and better performance. So more data from Tech, and it's pointing us really to the idea that BI is beyond the hype of dashboards and KPIs and metrics. It's even beyond, I think, having strong analytics and having great visualization. Because it's not just about being able to produce that certain report or build that certain graph, but it's really about understanding your company. So that means, how do you do business? How do you produce what you produce? How do you make money? And then understanding your processes, so simply, how do you account for that money? And then understanding your people. So what do they need to see, and then how do they need to see it? So it's usually at this point when I say the thing that no technology vendor ever really wants to say, which is business intelligence is really less about the technology than it is about the people and processes who are going to use that technology. All right, and so here's the really boring truth, because it all starts with data collection and data management. All right, boring, 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 right? I mean, no one wants to talk about that. But if you want to be able to transform all of that data, think about all the data that's in your ERP system, no matter which one you use, it has a ton of data, a ton of fields, a ton of tables. If you want to transform that data into, and the other systems that might be out there, you might have a payroll system or a sales commission system. If you want to transform that data into intelligence, you have to understand how to collect that data properly. And so it goes beyond that cliche, and I'm guilty of using this cliche. It goes beyond the cliche of transforming data into intelligence, and it moves into understanding how all the events in your business actually turn into data. and then how that data becomes information, and then how to transform that finally into intelligence. And so what I mean by that specifically is, how does the ERP actually generate the data? So which human beings are doing what to generate which data? And how do we handle all that data that's being generated? How do we collect it? How do we transform it so that it's meaningful to us? And then how do we deliver it in ways that manage the business better? And that brings us to this next topic, my next bullet point, which is the link between ERP and BI. So this quote that's on the screen, I'm not going to read it, but it calls ERP and BI the perfect storm for improved performance. And that's because you have two systems that handle data, and they both have similar goals. They want to do things like handle masses of data, and they want to streamline and accelerate business processes, and they want to provide visibility across functions and departments. But if you think about what ERPs are good at, it's really more about the writing of the data. So they're optimized for taking data in. They enforce a process on your business functions. They keep the data in an ultra-organized way. Normalized is the technical term for it. This is very useful because it ensures, for example, that the information about a sales order will be captured in the same way each time, and then that order will be processed in the same way each time. Okay, fine, but they're not really optimized for giving that information back out. And so this type of data schema that any ERP really uses is called an OLTP, so it's online transaction processing. Okay, but then if you think about the strategic things that people really want out of their ERP, and how often have you heard this from your finance folks, is I can't get anything out of it. It's too hard to get out. Then we have to think about that data schema that we have in a different way, because we don't want all those raw data points from all the tables and all the fields in the ERP. We want data that has been transformed, right, or at least aggregated so that it makes more sense to the business user. All right, and so take an example from purchasing, for instance. So if you want to run some BI scenarios on your inventory, then we can't just use the data that is stored in the ERP. Frankly, it would look like a big mess to the untrained eye. We have to aggregate that data and combine it in such a way that it makes sense and also that it's easy to access. So purchasing information exists on more than 30 tables in AX 2012, and that number goes down a bit when you get into the other ERPs, but it's still a lot of tables and a bunch of raw data. If we take the simple example of wanting to see the quantity of something we purchased and maybe the amount of money we spent, then we need to aggregate the data from a bunch of different tables, and I have a little list here I'm going to read. So in AX 2012, you have to aggregate the data from at least the VIN invoice trans table and from the purchase line table. You want to calculate the quantity. This is a calculation, mind you, using the Q2Y fields plus the remain purchase physical fields plus the remain purchase financial fields, right? It's messy, and that's really a simple example. I didn't even talk about distinguishing between posted and unposted transactions. Okay, so points made, right? In order to do this, we need to use a different type of schema, and that schema is called OLAP, right? And that's online analytical processing. That's what you have when you get people talk about cubes. That's the data schema that makes up a cube. But before we get to OLAP, can't get there yet, we have to use what's called ETL, right? And ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. And we need a tool to do this because the OLTP and the OLAP worlds are so different, right? One's great for capturing transactions and flowing them through a posting cycle. The other is great for analyzing data in a multidimensional view. But you can't use those same processes for production, that means getting data in, than you can for analysis, which means getting data out. So we have to change one data schema into another, and that is what an ETL tool does. And this is the way it looks. So this looks kind of like a complicated graph, but when my technical guys look at it, they cringe because I'm glossing over so many details that it almost doesn't make sense to them. But if you go left from right, you see that you have your data in various different systems. So you have your ERP, you have your operational systems, maybe it's CRM. And what we do is that we put it through that ETL function where it's changed, it's aggregated. Numbers are put together so they make sense. So all those purchasing numbers are put together into one field and streamlined and cleansed so that business people can make sense of it. It then gets stored and managed in a data warehouse, and then it's ready to be used by various front-end applications. So that could be Excel, or that could be a web-based application, or it could be some sort of data mining tool, right? And again, complicated topic. ETL is a subject of many, in data warehousing, subject of many, many books. And the problems get even more complex when you're going and hitting other other systems. But this is really one of the things that Jet Reports does, right? We're experts at managing data so that it's usable by you. And I've got about a minute here, so let me show you a quick example of how that works, right? I actually do have a 1-minute demo example. So here's one possible result of using Jet Enterprise, and this is from our BI systems, not necessarily from our financial reporting part of our solution.
Now we're down to the last 20 seconds here.
Last 20 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm gonna keep my promise then, Jason. I'm not going to do a full demo. I will, because I have one last thing I want to say. I'll invite anybody who wants to see more about our data management and about our front-end solutions to reach out. And there's 3 of our solutions there. It goes across all the dynamics, so it's everything from financial reporting to a full-blown data warehousing and BI solution. And then I wanted to make this offer to the folks. Again, we're data experts here. You know, we love our data, and we have a bunch of good content on how to manage data. So got a white paper on data migration. We have one on some secrets about how to really streamline your BI implementations. And then I have this Aberdeen report if you want to read it. If you like data, it's fascinating reading, right? And then I have this last one. I just actually wrote this one. This is about, really, in the end, this paper is about how to compare what comes natively in Dynamics for reporting and business intelligence versus a third-party tool. So there's a good list of questions in there that you want to ask any vendor. So I encourage anybody to reach out. There's my email and my phone number. And thanks everybody for coming, Jason. I know I went a little bit over. Thanks for the help there.
All right. Thank you, John. And now that does conclude the presentation portion here. I'm going to take control back, bring us back to our home page, and this is going to be the point where I would welcome anyone in the audience to ask a question, share a comment to hear a response from our presenters. I'm also going to open up all the lines for our presenters here. You know, while we're starting, I actually do just want to invite any of the other speakers, if they do want to make. I did allow, since we're doing pretty well on time, I allowed John there to take an extra 60 seconds. So if anyone else from our speakers does have like another 60-second concluding statement, I'll open it up to that now. But I'll also invite our audience to enter their questions to hear a little more from our speakers.
Yeah, hi, it's Nils here. I'll make a quick comment. Great presentation there, and I think as people are evaluating what BI solution is best for them, I think exactly the idea of first figuring out what your key pain is and what you're really looking for, that is a starting point versus hopping right into, you know, different vendor presentations and getting all of the great stories from each one. It's really helpful for us as vendors too, when people have written down and discussed and thought about what they're really looking for. Is it live reporting? Is it analysis? Is it dashboard, budgeting? Where is the real pain? And done some education of the team before they go out and talk with vendors. That usually causes a lot better communication and presentations as well.
I agree, Nils. That's the key, right? That really is the key to picking a good solution.
All right, we do have a question that has come in here, and I would maybe open this up to all of you to take a shot at answering. So the question is, does any of your products have packaged analysis like affinity and basket analysis? And why don't we just give each of you a chance to answer, and we'll maybe go through in the same order that we started with. So maybe offer that up to Noah first.
Yep, okay. First, thanks for the question. The short answer is we don't provide that type of capability. The general approach to that is to use a data mining type application. Analysis Services, which is part of SQL Server, provides, I think, 5 to 7 algorithms out of the box that you can use to do that type of analysis. But before you can do data mining, it's key to get the data into the proper shape before you're able to run those types of algorithms. And then that's what Precision Point's able to do through the consolidation of information. We get it all into one single spot and get it prepared to be able to run a data analysis or mining tool on top.
Okay, thanks. And Frank?
Much like the previous answer, yeah, we do have some analysis around those subjects, but also part of that is the way the data is structured, and if you want to do some of that, I think you need to make sure the data is collected the right way. So in short, Stratum has some of that type of analysis built in and predefined, and then depending on your definition and what you're needing to find there, analysis services is a great tool to help with that, and we certainly, that's part of our back end and would have the data there and can help you consolidate it that way. But so some predefined analytics around some of those things, other stuff you're certainly able to create that with our web-based viewer.
All right, Niels?
Yes, along the same lines, having a good data warehouse often is a beginning point of doing basket analysis and data mining and so on. So that's something we do. If it's true data mining that's in this question, like, if I bought potato chips, what's the likelihood that I also bought Coca-Cola, for example? Then along the lines Noah mentioned, Microsoft has a free Excel add-in for data mining. That I think it has about 9 algorithms in it that does that type of analysis.
All right, John.
Yeah, there's nothing left to say. I would agree with what everybody said. I mean, the only thing that I would point out about Jet is that we have a wizard that sits on top of analysis services that puts it into a drag and drop environment so that you don't need the deep kind of SQL skills that you normally need to run it. But what everybody said is right. It's all about your data setup first, and so you need a good, strong ETL tool in order to get the data in shape to be able to do that mining.
All right, another question that came in. Do any of the products have canned ETL routines? If you do, how deep do the routines go? Noah, why don't we go back to you on that?
Oh, you're going to start with me again.
No, I'm sorry. Why don't we go backwards this time? So, John, we'll start with you.
All right.
That way I can copy what John says.
Yeah, I did that to you, so fair play, right? Yes, is the answer. In fact, that is what Jet Reports is known for. That's what we spent 3 years in product development with, is building out that ETL tool that does two things. It can either be a solution for you so that you can use those stored procedures and canned ETL routines and programmatic ways to manage your data, or you can use it as an individual tool to let you go in and do all that stuff. When I say by hand, I mean in a wizard-driven environment. So you can either use what we have out of the box, you can use, or you can have full control over building it piece by piece. So absolutely, and I know that didn't get to the specifics of your question, but that's a hard question to answer kind of in general. I really do invite you though to reach out, and there's a lot of good ETL tools here on the call, but reach out, present your solution to us, and let us get into the specifics on it.
Okay, and I guess we'll keep working up the list. So, Nils.
In our world, because we both do live reporting on Dynamics where you don't need ETL, through our metadata layer, you see, the underlying SQL databases in plain English, like you saw in my demo. For our data warehouse, like other BI tools, you will use ETL, and for Dynamics as a data source, we have pre-built ETL. They always need configuration because people will have different charter accounts and so on, but it's there. And for your other data sources, either we use SSIS to create it, or we also have partnerships with companies like Pervasive, so we could load data from, let's say, an Oracle or non-typical Microsoft or non-Microsoft system on the side.
All right, and Frank.
Yeah, part of Stratum is the ability to collect information. If you remember our pinwheel, different ETLs to load up different parts of that pinwheel, the different what we call applications. So, and much like has been mentioned previously, that ETL, which is SSIS, it often requires some modification to fit with how people are specifically using different components of the dynamic solutions. But in a general sense, there's ability to suck data out of dynamics and into Stratum.
Okay, and Noah.
Okay, so our product is all about the intellectual property is all about the ETL. So we're not providing you a different ETL tool. We built our product within the Microsoft stack using SSIS and SQL procedures. And so what our core product is understanding how the tables fit together within AX, how they fit together within NAV to be able to bring the subledger information into the higher level. So for instance, within the AX product, we understand the relationships in between the invent trains, invent settlement posting, and the other inventory tables to get you low-level inventory analysis to be able to do accurate inventory balance, whether it's unit counts or dollar amounts, just at the within our product because of our understanding of how the data flows behind the scenes. So it gets you from the high level down to the lowest level quickly.
All right, thank you. We have another question here about product licensing. How are these products licensed? And why don't I shift the order up again this time? So this time we'll take Nils, then John, then Noah, then Frank. So Nils, do you want to address that question first in terms of licensing?
Sure. Yeah, I don't think it's time to list prices for every module and so on, but in essence, it's based on the number of users and also which module you buy. That's probably the easiest way I can explain it.
All right. John?
So I'm next. John. Yeah, so this is my pet peeve, is software pricing, because it's always so insanely complicated. And this is one of those product development arguments that I won. I win very few of them, but I won this one. And we keep it as simple as humanly possible. And so we don't do user licensing, we don't do module licensing, we don't separate anything out. We try to do our very best to give you a one price fits all, including implementation and ongoing support. And like Niels, I would say it's not the time to start listing off numbers, but again, something we can talk about.
All right, great. And Noah?
Okay, so I'm going to toe the party line that John and Nils started here, but to be a little bit more specific, we do offer our product as with subscription-based pricing. So just for $1,000 or so, you can try out Precision Point, get it fully installed within your environment, understand how it works, and ensure that it meets your needs just easily with that subscription agreement.
Okay, and Frank.
And I'm going to toe the party line as well and stick with a pretty simple pricing model that's built around the applications and the users, as has been discussed already. So not time to get into all of the pricing, the actual prices that exist, but again, simple pricing model by user and the specific applications that you take advantage of in Stratum.
Okay, we do have a couple more questions here. Just to the speakers, is everyone able to sort of stick around and answer a couple more things?
Sure.
I'm good.
Sure.
Okay, great. Excuse me, the next question. I would like to know which language the reports are developed in. Do you use Excel only? And again, maybe I'll just go to another order here. We'll start with Frank this time and go Frank, Nils, John, Noah.
Okay. Yeah, in Stratum, the views and reports that are created, you have a couple of options, but what I demoed was a web-based front end that is of our own development, pretty simple to use. I didn't go through the creation of a view from scratch, but you don't need to know anything about the database. All of that is shielded. It all comes up in user terms and metadata. So that's one front end, and then the other, like a lot of the folks showed, you can also use Excel directly against our database so that pivot tables, Power View, things like that are available to you as well, so you can build reports there. and you could use reporting services as well, and so if you're familiar with those technologies. So base stratum, our own front end designed to be user-controlled, user-managed. Excel, typically finance guys, great Excel jockeys, good with that stuff, and then reporting services maybe for the more technical group.
Okay, Nils? Nils, are you on mute perhaps?
Sorry, I had muted. For our ad hoc add-in, which I showed, that is not Excel, it's our own Windows client. For formatted reporting, so again, not referring to pivot tables, but the formatted reporting where you build financial statements and other things. You design them in Excel, so we have an Excel add-in that basically makes Excel into a financial report writer. And then you can deploy them in multiple ways. Either have your end users run them with our thin Excel add-in, or they can run them through our web portal, or you can post them to another web portal we have if you just want to view static reports. And you can also have them distributed automatically by email in various formats.
Okay, next for that one is John.
Yeah, so we're pretty agnostic. We can hook up to any front end. We also hook up to reporting services. I will tell you though, in the interest of kind of giving everybody a survey of what gets done, the vast majority of our clients use Excel, and it's kind of funny. We didn't expect that going into this years ago, but that's what we see, and we have an Excel add-in that makes that really easy. So financial reports or pivot tables or pre-formatted, what we call cube queries, right? That just seems to work for everybody. Excel seems to be, it's the largest BI and reporting tool in the world, right? So everybody knows how to use it.
Okay, and Noah.
Yep. Okay. So the data warehouse, you use standard SQL just like any other relational data warehouse. And then the cube environment, we provide an Excel add-in that will generate the MDX queries. Sorry, somebody must have been shot outside my window. You can hear the police sirens. But so with the MDX writer, it'll allow you to create advanced calculations within the writer itself, and you can also do nice formatting for what I would describe as kind of boardroom quality type reports. And we do actually also on our price list, we also offer Target as a front end tool for people to use. So that's an option if people want that for dashboarding. But we also have customers that use Cognos, ClickView, and reporting services and other solutions they may have already owned before.
Okay, and we are at our last question here, and let me read it off. So, in terms of both ETL and reporting, how easily does each solution deal with being able to bring in bespoke development? Can they easily handle anything from a few extra fields to a complete ISV solution? And why don't we go back to our first order? So we will start with Noah here and go Noah, Frank, yep, Nils, and John.
Okay, so our product, we can handle external data that's coming from other sources, whether it's like in a web shop or something to that effect. We can handle those through what's called our external data module. We can also bring in additional fields within NAV or AX into our model as part of our subscription agreement. When it comes off of standard tables, we'll include a number of those free. And then when it comes to ISV type situations where there's additional transactions, some of those, if they just use standard Navision or AX tables, will flow through our product just fine. It's just that they've managed to, or they've generated additional posting types. So again, those will handle just fine. But then when it comes to pure custom tables, that's work that either we can handle on your behalf, or you can use our environment and modify it because it is an open environment. So you can use ETL tools like SSIS to do that work.
Frank.
In Stratum, our data model and our business model is completely extensible to include information from other sources, and in fact, we expect that. The simple source would be, say, from an Excel application, where people might have a plan or they're capturing quality information at the dock, something like that, that's just not making its way back to the ERP. So at Silvon, we often collect information from extensions beyond the typical ERP stuff, pretty standard stuff. We have the ability to, you can define the metadata in our tool, which in turn defines what we call a category in a table for allowing you to suck that stuff in through classic SSIS or using some of our existing scripts. So yeah, we totally expect people to include information that's not part of the standard deployment in a dynamic situation.
Okay, Nils?
Yeah, the answer is similar for BI 360. So with the data warehouse, you can choose what type of data you bring in there. It's not limited to standard dynamics tables. Give you other data sources, custom tables, and so on. For our live reporting, you can actually also, apart from including custom tables and fields within Dynamics, you can, for example, have a view that goes over to Microsoft CRM and run a sales report that shows your actual data from Dynamics and your live opportunity data from CRM. So you can also do those type of virtual integrations where both data sources are real time.
Okay, and John?
Yeah, similar answer. We can see everything, whether it's a custom table or an ISV product or even a view, right? We can see it all. I can tell you what our process is. We simply connect our ETL tool to the various data sources and then allow you to, using just the Microsoft stack, so integration services, analysis services, SQL, MDX, you're using a wizard that we sit on top of that and pull the data in, aggregate it the way you want. So we can see everything.
Okay, well that concludes our question queue. I want to say thank you once again to all of our speakers for speaking today and for supporting the BI series this spring. And I also want to thank all the attendees for so many great questions and for being a great audience today. To anyone in the audience still, we do encourage you to fill out the feedback survey. It's just 3 questions right after you close out the session. Again, thanks again. We really appreciate the feedback, and thanks again for attending. And thanks to everybody one more time, and have a great day. And we'll hope to see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. That was good fun.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.